I'm quite fascinated with the creative learning process, and I'm reading a book at the moment by the renowned educator Sir Ken Robinson. Great writer, great speaker, has some fabulous ideas about creativity and learning. And this is something I quite often ponder when I'm doing the gardening, is just the holistic nature of who we are and how it is that we are creative and how it is that we learn to be creative. And it's something that is generally not really taught to us much at school. So we've got to discover how we can learn to be creative in other ways. And I just want to share today a few things that I've picked up from this book called The Element. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. It's quite wonderful. And the first is that we, as humans, as people, we quite often underestimate the capacity that we have, our intellectual, our imaginative, our intuitive capacities, our capacities for feeling and for spirituality, and also our physical and our sensory awareness. And certainly those two things are very much in play in me as I'm in my garden. Just the sensory awareness is quite wonderful, and I find this really stimulates my imagination and really leads to creativity, and it's a great thing. And I'll share a little bit more about how we can do this and how we can learn to do this a little bit later in the video. And another thing that Sir Ken Robinson talks about in his book, The Element, is how we are not really aware of our holistic nature. We are mind, we're body, we're emotion, we're spirit, but each of these things is definitely not compartmentalized. We are a unified person, we're a unified being, and all of these things make up who we are. And this very much resonates with me again in the garden, because a garden doesn't grow unless it has the things that it needs. It needs the sunlight and the heat, it needs the water, it needs that nutrition from the rain, it needs the other nutrition that we add to the soil so that the plants will grow really well. And yeah, in this kind of digital environment where we are so transfixed on consuming and often scrolling on our phones, we tend not to be aware of the holistic nature of our being. So I think this is really important. And the other thing that he talks about in the book is how that we underestimate our personal potential for growth and for continual learning and for continual expansion of all of these aspects of who we are. And this is usually done through trial and error, because again, we're not taught how to do it in school. And so it's so important to learn to appreciate our capacity for growth, because if we don't, we're just not going to grow. It's like if we don't water the garden, particularly at this time of the year in the hot season, it just doesn't grow. We need to have that continual stimulation, the watering and the nurturing and the feeding, so that we will personally grow just as my garden grows when we give it our love and attention. Now let me just share 3 ways that I think that will help us to really appreciate our capacities, realize that we are body, mind, spirit, emotions, that we are one, and how to really make full potential and continue growing. And the first thing that is so important, and I quite often do this in the garden, is just to stop, just to take time to relax and to just be present in the moment and appreciate all that we have. And certainly being in the garden, this is really easy for me because I love being in the garden, I love being in nature. But you can do this in your own garden, or if you don't have a garden, you can just take time out of your day, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, just to stop and breathe and meditate and pray if you like, and just be present in the moment and be aware of your imaginings, be aware of what's happening, and not just in your head, but how these things affect your emotions. And just consider these things as being really important at least once a day. Certainly more than 5 or 10 minutes is recommended, but if that's all you've got time for, or if you're not sure and you just want to make a start, just make a start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day, and really take a bit of a pause and just learn to appreciate the stillness and the quietness and what's in your imagination, and think about if it's positive or it's negative. And as you do this over a week or a month, just take note of those things. And the second thing there is to how we can become holistically connected. And certainly this pause, this taking time out will do that, but think about your thinking, think about your thoughts, think about, are they positive or negative? Think about, are they creative or are you just consuming? Think about also what's affecting these things and what's affecting your body. So certainly what we eat, what we consume digitally or reading in a book or watching on TV or whatever we're doing. And then also what is affecting our emotions and our spirit in life. And if you're aware of these things, you'll start to realize how they affect one another. Now, particularly if you're in a situation where you're needing to take medication, and particularly if you're needing to take a lot of medication, maybe you've had an injury or a surgery and you're needing to have antibiotics and other pharmaceuticals to help your body recover, you'll also notice that this is going to affect your mind and your emotions and your spirit because they're having a strong effect on your body. It's also like having a good night out, and maybe you have a few too many glasses of wine, and maybe the next morning your body is going to tell you and your mind is going to tell you, oh, maybe that wasn't such a good idea after all. These things affect us in a holistic way, and if we can be aware of that, then this can then also feed into positive and creative thinking and feeling and action of creating something when you're in the realm for that, when you're in the zone for that as well. And then how can we continue to grow? And this is something that we need to be aware of, particularly when we're older. I'm 61 years old and I'm quite conscious of the need to continue learning and to continue growing. And I find that creative expression really helps us. I need to learn a little bit more about how to do things better if I want to continue being more creative and more expressive of who I am as a person. And this is really, really vital. And in particular, if you're sharing your creative expression with others, this will help you to continue to grow. And being creative can be as simple as planting some seeds, or if you've got a bigger garden, plant a new tree and just enjoy it, but be present with it. If you're maybe living in a small place where you don't have a garden, get a few old plastic cups or your last coffee cup, put some potting soil in it and put some seeds in, and just enjoy watching these grow and being present with them. Or plant a tree in that corner of your garden that's a little bit neglected and might need a little bit of a lift. And this will help you to really realize your potential for growth as you watch your plants grow, and enjoy it. It's wonderful. But don't stop there. Engage in creativity, engage in doing something else, engage in making something with your hands, using your imagination, expressing your feeling, and this will help you to become more holistic and more aware, and then enjoy this creativity more, and you'll be able to just dig deeper into it and really find a great satisfaction. It does take some discipline, it does take practice, but believe me, it is well worth it. And I've got another video where I'll share more deeply on the subject and relate it to being here at Suansok Homestay in our garden, and particularly about building our home. So if you're interested in that, please check that out. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's on our Substack. And in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, you can watch this one next. I'm sure you'll love that one too. Thanks very much for watching.